Racingtire accidentally released in the wrong red color up until 2015 when he was finally corrected to this pink. Now he's back for 2019, and he's red again. Or is this his pink variant? I don't know. I think this is like a whole new variant, aside from just being a Thailand variant. He seems to be a different color. I don't know. This guy's confusing. Look, there are two Kevins in the Piston Cup in the first cars. There's Kevin Racingtire and Kevin Shifty. This car's sponsor is Shifty Drug. So in my mind, since I don't have the names memorized for all the Cars 1 Piston Cup racers, I'm much better with the Cars 3 one since I own almost all of them. In my mind, when I think of this guy, I think, oh hey, that's Kevin Shifty. Shifty Drug. Shifty. No, he's Kevin Racingtire. Kevin Shifty is Clutch Aid. Anyway guys, welcome back to yet another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new Blue Desert cardback Kevin Shifty. Oh sorry, Racingtire. How many times am I going to mess that up in the review? I don't know. That's why I wanted to put that that message at the beginning of the review. Just to warn you guys in case I call him Kevin Shifty. So there you go. We got his artwork there. Same one that's been used for years. Got the Blue Desert in the background. Dynaco logo for the Dynaco 400. After the Dynaco 400, a tiebreaker race is needed to determine the winner of the Piston Cup. How frequently do I read this description? I feel like it's like once or twice a week now. The Piston Cup, the Dynaco 400 series, sorry, and the World Grand Prix series have just become massive series. They're so big at this point that I feel like every other week, one of the cars that I review for that week is gonna be one where I have to read either this description or the World Grand Prix description. You got Chick Hicks, the King, James Clean Air, and the car that you just bought. I don't know, they've been doing that recently, putting the car that you bought on the packaging. Here's James Clean Air's packaging, same picture. That's it. Also, fun fact, James Clean Air, that is his prototype picture where he has a grill. So, let's get Kevin Shifty out of the package here. Shifty Drug, a car that, of course, or sorry, a sponsor that was MIA from Cars 3. Who knows? Who knows what happened to him? I'd assume that the company went out of business, or maybe Kevin was such a bad racer that Shifty Drug had to pull out of the Piston Cup. As his Meet the Cars description heavily features the fact that he isn't really that good of a racer. I think like his father-in-law owned like some racing thing, and that's the only reason why he's in the job. And then they end his description by saying that all sounds really shifty, which was funny, of course. Some of those Meet the Cars descriptions are just so clever. Dan Skarkenberg knows news, and knowing news like Dan knows news allows Dan to cruise for new news that might not be known. Naturally, knowing news as soon as Dan knows news puts him in the know, and since he knew it when it was new, and is thus able to report it in the now, then yes, Dan knows news. See? Very clever. Then again, I don't know much about Dan Skarkenberg after reading that, aside from the fact that he knows news. And knowing news like Dan knows news allows Dan to cruise for new news that might not be known. Naturally, knowing news as soon as Dan knows news puts him in the know, and since he knew it when it was new and is thus able to report it in the now, then yes, Dan knows news. Let's just get started with the review. I'm really happy that Mattel is releasing all these Cars 1 Piston Cup racers, since I don't have many, and I told myself that I would never resort to buying them online since I knew they'd eventually get re-released and I'd slowly but surely be able to build up my collection. Then again, now that comes with the sacrifice of getting the Thailand variants, which I really don't mind, except for when their expressions look kind of weird, like Kevin's here. Got the Shifty Drug logo here with the little gear shifting stick as the eye. I actually have made my own custom Shifty Drug Next Gen. I should probably review that. And I really like what I did with the logo. Got the mustache there. Had a pretty upset expression. He's number 35. Got his light there, his lights. I don't really like the wheel coloring on this guy. I don't know, it just doesn't really match with the rest of him. And for a car that Meet the Cars says can't race too well, he has a whole lot of secondary sponsors. Aside from the Piston Cup, this guy's got Nitro Raid, Revolting, Mood Springs, Octane Gain, Vitaline, Nostal, Gaskets, Gasprin, Easy Idle, RPM, Little Torquey Pistons, Retread, and Clutch Aid, all there as a contingency sponsors. Number 35, Shifty Drug logos, very generic car. very generic, just two flat colors, Shifty Drug logos, just the same thing everywhere. He's pretty boring in terms of the paint job, which is why I really would have loved to see what he would have looked like if he carried over to Cars 3. Maybe a bit like this guy right here. Yeah, that's a weird coincidence. Got all the same stuff on the other side, and there is the base. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and please remember that Dan knows news. And knowing news like Dan knows news allows Dan to cruise for new news that might not be known. Naturally, knowing news as soon as Dan knows news puts him in the know, and since he knew it when it was new and is thus able to report it in the now, then yes, Dan knows news.